And like, I wonder if that's going to affect, getting raws from everybody, like making it harder to get any sort of gear or anything because
Yeah.
they're obviously not getting it from the US. They're getting it imported. So,
That's what I was trying to look at was Chinese factory raids.
oh, they
Because
raided in they raided in China, in the Chinese
yeah,
raids. Oh, I didn't know that.
someone in my group, in my like my little coaching group that I have on WhatsApp,
Yeah,
someone in there was saying um, there was some raids on some of the compounding pharmacies or pharmaceuticals or something um, going on right now in China.
damn. I mean, is that that's gonna affect a lot of stuff?
Yeah. So I'm
It's
trying to
just,
figure out the details behind it. This was, and it's crazy because, well, I don't know about you. I've never been into the deep, dark places of ordering. I don't do a lot of the forum type stuff. I don't do like sourcing for raw. I've always just ordered from, trusted resources.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so there's a lot of guys that are in that space where they have or are connected to with um, some resource from China. So um, I'll into that more, I guess, when I get off of this and I get with my guys in the group and figure out more of the details, and we might can
yeah.
check on that later. But but yeah, dude. So tell me, you said you were going to bring your push phase to an end.
So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start the process of bringing my food down. So for probably the last, because you're 13 weeks, right? 13 or 14.
Yeah, I'm on 14.
You're on 14. So that means I'm on 15. So I think I'm going to take these last 2 weeks and I'm going to just start the process of bringing the food down, giving my stomach and digestion a break. And kind of, I want to find a level where my weight just levels out before then it goes straight into a health phase. I mean, my lab work numbers look good, and I just want to maintain like the weight because you don't want to just get as big as you can and then go, you want to hold that weight for a little while. The longer you can hold that weight, the I feel like the more you can, it, you know, you keep it on you, it stays permanent. So I'm going to start basically just bring the fluff out. I'm just gonna probably keep my pre-workout meal and post-workout meal the same, and then the rest of the meals just take out, the apple juice and some English muffins, bring the rice down a little bit just to give the digestion a break. It's really just become to the point where like I don't have but from workout to workout, I don't have a break. So, I'm fine the first workout, then the next workout, it's just like it's slowly getting more difficult to control my midsection. And then, when you're bloated to hell and you're trying to work out, do deadlifts or squats, it's so uncomfortable, like it's just that time. It's that time to bring food down and start ready for a health phase and get ready to go again.
That's something that people on the outside looking into what I would consider like the truth of actual bodybuilding, not just going to the gym, getting a sweet pump, trying to blast a little bit of trend, look good on social media. Like
Yeah.
for actual bodybuilding, the amount of food that we have to put down, and then to hear people, online say something about your midsection is thick or blocky,
Yeah.
and we know damn well, and there's probably there's some guys out there for sure that have thick waist, but we know for sure that neither one of us necessarily do. But
Yeah.
you're deep in an off season and you're pounding 400 grams of carbs or 400 grams of rice
Yeah.
plus whatever else you can manage to stomach. Like right now, you've got some liquid carbs in there, you've got some dates, you've got some dried fruit,
Yeah.
and extra honey, and like you're trying to make up carbs with smaller sources the best you can, but you don't just go from. you know, 200 grams of rice to adding in all these, drinks, orange juice, apple juice, honey, or whatever to make up your carb total. You try to max out how much you can consume from like your rice and your starchy carbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's quite a bit of freaking food, and you're doing it 6 times a day for months on end. You're not going to be able to always keep it super tight. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I always say like when you feel your best, it's probably, after a show, you feel good. Maybe the start of a prep, you feel good. And then the beginning of a push phase, you feel like you can put food down. But once you get past there's certain points, it's like it starts taking a toll on your digestion. And it's like this is what weeds out the people who are going to make gains, who are going to step on stage and be like, what did that person do? To people who just want doing it for Instagram or whatever, trying to look pretty.
yeah,
This is the work that it takes.
I definitely look forward to rest days now,
Mhm.
where carbs are quite a bit lower, and I don't think your carbs drop as dramatically as mine do on rest day, but and probably because you would lose like 10 pounds if you did that, but I, I usually drop about 3 pounds after rest day,
Yeah,
and then it slowly comes back up to baseline, and then I maybe see a slight increase after that. So, but speaking of off season, I'm gonna keep going. I'll do blood work later this week, and I'll keep pushing. I just added in some Anadrol that it's sitting there in the cabinet, and the injectables that I would like to use are slim pickings right now.
yeah,
So instead of throwing in a compound that I know I don't like, like NPP or something, um, I was like, I just figured, you know what, I'll just do the 25 milligrams of Anadrol, which is super low, but
yeah,
was very easy for me to manage earlier this year. So I haven't been on any oral since the end of April. I've done 3 sets of labs since then where liver enzymes were spot on. So I have no concerns really. And when I do go on orals, that's when I put the glutathione back in. And even if maybe don't even necessarily need it, if you're doing tons of NAC and
right.
TUDCA, liver's fine. But just as a precautionary,
Yeah,
okay, orals going in, so the glutathione's going back in. But that's helped me bump my weight up a little bit. Now I know that even with 25 milligrams of Anadrol, there's a little bit of water that comes on, but it's very,
yeah,
very manageable for me. And it doesn't seem to mess with my appetite at such a low dose, but just a little something extra. I don't really feel like pushing my doses higher right now as far as the injectables go. And that's kind of out of, I don't want to say out of being lazy, but convenience factors. I pen every single day. So right now with daily, what are my daily doses? Um, what am I up to right now? So it's 100 milligrams of test a day, um, 60 milligrams of 80 milligrams of Primo per day. So it essentially comes out to just less than 1 cc daily.
yeah,
And if I go higher on my doses and I have to go into 2 different shots every
yeah.
evening, then I'm like,
That'd be a pain.
no. Yeah, I'd rather not. So
Yeah,
that's been the only benefit of having a Primo 200 on hand is the volume helps me keep the total shot volume down, so I get more
yeah,
milligrams out of it. But yeah, so I'll ride this out for a couple weeks, and then I'm gonna do kind of like you're doing right now with what you're fixing to switch into is like a recomping, tighten it up a little bit, not dropping the compounds, but switching the compounds a little bit. Maybe doing another 10 milligrams of trinacetate daily for a couple of weeks.
yeah,
Maybe throw in a touch of clean and pull a little bit of the body fat down, and hold some fullness, and then find a good resting spot to move into the health phase.
yeah.
So, what are you going to do with your calories? I mean, you're just going to slowly back them off.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. So like I'll once I get rid of like, kind of the fluff stuff, that's what I call like the English muffins and apple juice. I just want to see what my weight does. If I want to get it, I want to stay in the 240s if I can, because I'm 247. and I've been there for a while now. So I think staying in it, finding a good amount of food and the cardio and all the working out that maybe like 242 or something like that. Drop a little bit of waters and hold that while I'm in a health phase, and then probably do the same thing I did with this next push, this push I just did where I did as I'm titrating doses up, I'm kind of doing a little mini cut, just to get my hunger like skyrocketed again. So I'm wanting food so I can start pushing again. But probably that's what I'll do. I don't really know, the first initial cut, I eat like, dude, I want to say like 9 muffins a day, like 9 English muffins a day. So bringing that down to only eating like four, that will that and bring in maybe a little bit of take the apple juice out, so that will probably be like 1,000 calorie cut right there, and so that should be enough to just get rid of some water and make my digestion feel better, because it's not the first two meals that mess me up. Like I'm hungry when I wake up in the morning and I'm hungry for my post workout. It's the last four that start to wear. It just gets
You know,
rough.
and you do have a higher fat diet, and
Yeah,
the later in the day you go, compounding the fats makes the digestion slower and slower, slower. So
yeah,
it could be that combination, but I know with you, if you do drop the fats, you start dropping weight. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a catch 22 type situation. So I
yeah.
don't know. It'd be interesting to see if you like next push phase, because you have your fats very evenly spaced out, or are they
Yeah.
higher in some than others?
It's pretty even. I mean,
Except for your post workout.
yeah, second post work. The only fats that are in post workout are just the steak. I trim my sirloin, so it's not as much as it would be, but there's fat in beef and sirloin. So, but everything else, there's almond butter. I usually use a lot of olive oil. Love olive oil, and then almond butter is the other source. If I use avocados or something like that, man, it makes me gassy and I bloat. So I stay away
Yeah.
from avocados.
Well, you're doing too much avocado, and uh, there are a couple of sources that are just too high in fiber. So if you pound those fibers in all day too, it
Yeah,
could get a little bit messy. But so I kind of wanted to talk about a couple things here. I mean, I wish we knew a little bit more about the raids that's going on, but it does bring the question like, so what are you looking at right now? Right now, you're currently already doing an interesting combination, and this is a question I get asked a lot about combining EQ and Primo in a cycle. And I always, obviously express the concern that the total of the two doesn't block your or reduce your estrogen too much.
right,
The estrogen that you're going to need in that cycle to grow and convert IGF-1 and heart protective benefits, neuroprotective benefits, whatever. So you just did your blood work not too long ago, and you said your estrogen came back at what, 21 or
21.
something. Okay.
So a
And
little low.
what was your total? Your test was 1250,
Yeah.
right? What was the total of the other two together?
1050.
Okay.
So 850 of EQ and then 200 of Primo.
Yeah. So normally you're up. So okay. Estradiol came back at 21. You were on the upper end of the ratio. You were
Yeah.
probably 80%, right?
Yeah.
Close to 80% of your total test dose. So if you dial that back to 65% of your total testosterone dose, you'd probably be somewhere in the ballpark of 800, 850 maybe
Yeah.
total combined of the Primo and the Equipoise to have your estradiol in maybe a
Yeah.
35,
Yeah.
spot. So this is
And that,
what I've been trying to figure out with these people, because this is also a cycle that I would like to run come the beginning of the year.
yeah.
And it will be interesting to see. I know that you like to incorporate equipoise to push appetite in the off season. Now, this is kind of tricky because I'm using the Retta to maintain insulin sensitivity, and combining it with equipoise would probably be counterintuitive to some degree. But I wonder if the Retta would still be able to have um, the food noise gone, but the
Right.
equipoise help you eat. Kind of keep you on
Right.
track. So that'll be interesting to see for myself. But
Well, do you feel like when you're on Reddit, like, are you like hungry?
it's no. I
You're not
mean,
hungry?
there's very few times, and it's also, I mean, I'm pushing food, but there are a few times where I will start to feel like, okay, it's time to, it's definitely time to eat, you know.
Yeah.
But the way that it normally would be, um, no, not even close. Like I could, if I wanted to, I could easily go 6 hours without eating
Mm,
and not be pissy or hangry, you know.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the cravings and like the appetite doesn't come on and punch you in the face like it normally does when you're a disciplined, you know, bodybuilder. But
Right.
so you do have to kind of pay attention to the clock. Realistically, though, when you're in a routine like we are, you eat regardless of the time. You just eat because your day is at that point in time where it's time for a meal. So we know
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. If you took the clocks off of the wall and we didn't have anything to track time, me and you would still know exactly when it was time to eat. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
just based on our routine and the habits that we have, the way our life is structured, we would know it's time to eat right now. So I would still get the meals in, but it definitely doesn't make you want to deviate, you know, and grab something shitty or nothing. So that's nice. But so topic that comes up that's been coming up recently, and my little TikTok feud with somebody. Um, you know, we already talked about me and Hacky talked about the risk of cancer and uh, bodybuilders or IGF-1 in general, right? So
Yeah.
peptides, cancer, IGF-1, that whole conversation on the last episode of the podcast. And so I wanted to wait and talk to you about this, but bodybuilders and cardiovascular disease, which is way more prominent and for obvious, absolutely obvious reasons. For anyone to scratch their head and wonder, I wonder why bodybuilders die at such a higher rate from cardiovascular disease. Then
Yeah.
you clearly don't know a fucking thing about
Exactly.
bodybuilding and what anabolics do. Now
Yeah.
we take growth hormone, um, attributing deaths to growth hormone intake is, I think, pointing in the wrong direction, massively pointing in the wrong direction. It's
Yeah.
absolutely contributed to the amount of androgens we have in our system that drive up blood pressure and angiotensin 2 and our RAAS system, renin
Yeah.
angiotensin aldosterone system, and the the blood thickening that can obviously
Yeah.
be an issue with a lot of compounds we take. And then combine that with the fact that we train super hard, we push our bodies all the time, and a lot of guys will get up to 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
So that entire combination. Me and you are on top of this as much as we can be for risk mitigation. So real quick, I just want to hear you talk about some of the things you do. I know we do a lot of the similar things, but I'm curious kind of what you have to do to keep all your health markers aligned the way you need them to be.
So I think, starting it's picking compounds that you work well with. So, for me, it's kind of like you got to know your genetic makeup. I know you earlier on got a bunch of blood tests about, your cholesterol and the APO little a, genic, it's a tiny little part of the LDL and this
You keep hold on, pause.
little blood vessels and cause,
Hold on, you keep cutting out.
do you want me to start over?
You go ahead and say that last part again.
So it's like for anybody who doesn't know what apo little a is, there's like
The lipo, there's
li-
lipoprotein little a. Yeah.
yeah, lipoprotein little a. It's like a very small, like in the LDL, it's a very small particle that's very dense that can cause a lot of issues, especially when you're including, steroids. Steroids, your ability to clot, you have to have a clot goes up. And so when you have these little particles and it's a genetic thing, you have to really pay attention to those, cholesterol levels, bringing it down. And so picking compounds, if that is something, staying away from orals or being on top of your blood work and making sure it's in range is crucial. So, part of what me is, I don't have very good cholesterol genetically. I haven't gotten that blood test or marker, but I just know that genetically from my family history my grandpa, he's had a heart attack. My grandpa on my mom's side had a heart attack. So it's something that I have to pay attention to. And it's just addressing those things. So addressing different parts, staying on, your cholesterol levels, making sure your blood pressure is in line. And if those things are out of whack, using your tools to you know, using them to address those issues. So for me, cardio steps are a major thing. Making sure I have, taking supplements like the lipid supplement from Revive, Zimitide. I'm always on that. I'm taking, Telly for blood pressure and just monitoring from dose increasing in my push phases, whether I'm keeping those things in line and being real with yourself. If they are getting out of line, I'm not being negligent and just like, all right, let's keep pushing. It's like, no, like this stuff has this stuff causes problems in the future. And the more you don't address it, the more you're going to see it the older you get and the more damage you're causing. So just staying on top of those things, and I mean, I check my blood pressure pretty much every day. You know, I check my blood sugar every single day. I get blood work as much as I can, even though it's expensive, and making sure my cholesterol is in range. And those are just some key points that you really need to pay attention to if you are going down this road of taking PEDs and acknowledging the areas that you have problems with genetically and addressing them and not being stupid and waiting. Because I hear a lot of old bodybuilders. I think Fuad Abiad, talks about it all the time, how he didn't address his blood pressure. He didn't address it until he was like in his early 30s and he started having kidney problems. And he still does. And it was what had to retire him. It's like, well, these things, you can address them. You can address them early on and you can do this safer, with protocols and supplements and if you got to go through the pharmaceutical route, why not, dude? I mean, so many people will stab themselves with Trin, but they won't go and take a statin, or they won't even try to take a Zimitide, or they won't take Telly. It's like, what are you doing? What are we talking about here, dude? It's like,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
seems like, and this is a interesting, thing that kind of came to mind was it seems like in the earlier days of bodybuilding, it's like the guys that were bodybuilding in the 70s and 80s now tend to deal with kidney problems more than heart attacks.
yeah,
And not that there's not those, but I'm just saying that it seems like that's very, very common for that era to have had kidney issues. So that would
yeah,
that would go to show that blood pressure was not monitored and or mitigated, and I guess the information was not available, right? So
right,
then you move into the 90s and 2000s and 2010s, and you have more of the heart attack stuff coming about. And I think the main reason for this is not that the dosages were necessarily any higher or the compounds selection was any worse. I think this more or less goes with the total size of the person. So
yeah,
to keep size down, we want to get as big as we can, obviously, especially when you're competing in the open. But to keep size down, we have to essentially keep body fat levels down too, because that's going to contribute to total size and
yeah,
how hard the heart has to pump. Um, and the blood pressure is the major contributing factor to that, cofactor to that, because if blood pressure is elevated, then that means the heart is pumping even harder to move
yeah,
blood around than it should be, especially when it comes to diastolic and the pressure that's in the heart between those beats. So it's a no-brainer that you should have, even if you're on TRT, and I had this question yesterday on TikTok, even if you're on TRT, could you still use telmisartan? And the answer is probably yes in a low dose. Now,
yeah,
should you be managing your lifestyle so that you don't have high blood pressure? Absolutely, and
yeah,
that's the goal there. But to have it on hand, have it available, and obviously, if we increase doses higher, then we would absolutely want to add the telmisartan to give some risk mitigation. Um, and again, so the post I made this morning about equipoise, right? And you're on equipoise, and you've done way more equipoise than I have over the years. And there's a person-to-person response when it comes to the anxiety that could come from equipoise. So treating the blood pressure for the issue directly and not mistreating it from another route. Basically, if you have uh, an issue with equipoise and it causing anxiety, then that's something you want to note as this may be more of a sympathetic nervous system type response to equipoise, in which case this would be a scenario where maybe a beta blocker would be the better option. And
Yeah.
not that you can't combine the two, that's very common to do, the telmisartan, the ARB, and the beta blocker, nebivolol. But then it raises another marker you have to pay attention to, and that would be your potassium, since they both can spare and or increase potassium. So there are more concerns and more things to manage, and obviously more money that goes into having to manage these things. The more you take, or depending on the compound that you select. So this is where it's kind of our responsibility um, as educators, not ours specifically, but those in the industry who know this information and can provide this information who are not. But
Yeah.
we do have some great resources, obviously, that are talking about it now. But there are so many that don't, and a lot of them may have a bigger following than you or I, and they're not putting out this kind of health information. They're more so
Yeah.
leading the way with exotic protocol approach, and this is usually influencers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so much your top pros. They're more hush hush, but and we have to personally try to overcome that influence that those influencers have on the anabolic, realm, and try to at least penetrate that following
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help them get some help, help them know how to manage these things. And so that's why, my channel is mostly talking about health risk management of using anabolics, and
Yeah.
peptides come into the equation, but medications absolutely come into that equation.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, even like, like I give a couple people that came to me and they got protocols from the pro at the gym. And I showed you the protocol and it's like just cookie cutter stuff. It's like there's no thought into it. It's, this program from at week this, you're taking this, at week this, you're taking that. There's no, like that's not how you do it. Or I got a dude who's sent me his protocol and this guy was taking three different orals for his first cycle, and it's like, what are y'all doing? Where's the basic knowledge of how to build this? It's like, well, he just heard it from some TikTok person or some dude in the gym gave him this, and it's like, no, man, like that's not you're gonna hurt yourself. And luckily I was able to get him as a client and help him out. But it is kind of a duty that we have to help educate or help point them in a better direction, or to just let them do their own research, figure that out. Like as much as I recommend a protocol or cycle, like you shouldn't always just take everybody's advice and be like, this is what this guy said. It's like let's also do some of our own research too.
I've had people reach out in the past that were maybe short on cash and ask for, can you give me like a 16-week off-season protocol, like cycle?
Yeah.
And I've done it, you know, hesitantly, but I went into the thought process of I'm going to try to set these doses to at least have the least amount of side effects. And all you can do from there is say, these are the things you need to track. You need to track your blood sugar. You need to track your blood pressure. You need to do blood work, probably if you're enhanced, every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, if you're just moderately pushing it, you're just doing like a TRT plus every quarter of the year is a good idea, every 12 weeks or so. If you're just on TRT and trying to live healthy, then twice a year, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you have to track these things, and I'll never do that again. Where I take money to send you a 16-week cycle, and you're going to do this for 4 weeks and then go up, and this for 4 weeks and go up, and so on. And the only reason is not that that wouldn't work, not that that doesn't structurally lead to growth, but it doesn't take into consideration the health factors. And this person, on week 7, their blood pressure skyrockets.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that into consideration. So if you have a coach now that you pay monthly, or you've paid it upfront for 6 months or 12 months. And that person, that coach does not frequently ask for your blood pressure or how's your blood sugar or is it time to do blood work again? It looks like, it's been about 8 weeks. We probably need to pull some labs. If you
Yeah.
don't have that kind of coach, you need to bail. If you don't know how to manage it yourself and you're looking to somebody and you're paying somebody to help you do things to make progress, that person also needs to consider your longevity and your health as part of their job.
Yeah. Exactly.
But so, that's the same way we treat outside of blood pressure and maybe less immediately um, essential is managing your blood sugar, and that's more so that you have productive off seasons.
Yeah.
Um, you can't grow when we are insulin resistant. So, what do you do right now? Because you can't use the Retta. So, what are you using to do to manage your insulin sensitivity?
Um, well, to monitoring making sure my blood sugar's in line, I'm taking the metformin, berberine. Also, this is the first time I started Jardins. And it's really, I haven't pushed my carbs up this high. So, when, blood sugar was starting to creep up a little bit, it was something I decided to try. And it definitely brought the blood sugar back down where it needs to be. And then also using, a Lantus. I take, I think it's like 20 IUs in the mornings. And then as the food started going up, I started including Humalog pre and post workout. And so that's really kept that blood sugar in check for sure. But as far as insulin sensitivity, man, it's just really getting back to trying to stay lean and monitoring your weight gain from week to week and, you know, using cardio and using steps to keep your insulin sensitivity up, keeping you lean. And that's really the big meat and potatoes is if in the off season, if you get fat too quick or you put your surplus, like I don't go from my health phase, which is, I don't know, probably will be like 4,000 calories or whatever it was, straight to 7,200. Like that's a good way to get fat. Like these are progressive ups. And so I'm monitoring my weight gain with all these, pharmaceutical side, with all the little tools in place, keeping L-carnitine in. I have L-carnitine to helps with insulin sensitivity and just training hard and making sure I'm not getting fat. That's really been the best for me to keep my insulin sensitivity and keeping it to where I can stack consecutive push phases where I don't really need to do an 8 week long cut. I mean, I've showed you the picture of me getting fat too.
Yeah.
Like when I was with Matt, like that was rough. Like I was chunky. And so it's not like I'm just genetically where I can do this. It's like, no, it's like anybody can do this. It's just being on top of the variables and keeping the tools in that allow you to keep that insulin sensitivity. I would love to try Retta.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just can't seem to get it into me to pull my fats down. So I'm not bloated. I, I
It could
definitely
be
would.
it could be a tool that you use in prep.
Yeah,
And the only reason I say that is, some people might see that, hear that statement and think that you're using Reddit as a cop out for having to have discipline or whatever.
right.
Realistically, truthfully, using a compound like tirzepatide or retatrutide is going to be less potentially harmful to you than clenbuterol would be. So we're so used to using certain compounds that they've become mainstream and staples that we don't really even consider the risk with them anymore. And so when we have an option to use something else that would do better with less problems,
Yeah,
we call that, because it makes your food noise go away, that suddenly you're less disciplined. I don't think that that's the case.
right.
So that would be a time that you might could experiment with it when your food's starting to come down. But
Especially
um,
when like you lose sleep. When I
yeah,
can't like that, I heard there was another dude who did a show, influencer or something. I think he got his pro card recently, but he started to use it when he couldn't sleep, and it really helped him get his sleep in. And that was a major problem for me last prep whenever I was doing 2 days cardio, where I come home at work from like 10:30 and start doing an hour of cardio. It's like it's hard to get your body temperature down and
That's
get you
smart,
out
man.
of that, that state of where you're doing cardio till you can sleep. I'm sitting on the couch for an extra 30 minutes just to cool off so I can fall asleep, and then I'm just starving, and it's just
Yep.
kind of a miserable experience. So I would like to try it during that time for sure.
And you might respond better to tirzepatide and prep. And we've kind of
Yeah,
talked about this a couple times to a few other people. And the glucagon agonism deep in prep can almost be problematic by bringing your blood sugar back up,
yeah,
where we get a lot of fat loss from our blood sugar dipping low, and we know this, and we get comfortable with it. Where an outsider or a first time prep client may not be comfortable with what it feels like to have low blood sugar, whereas we are very used to it. So glucagon kicking in or stimulating and bringing blood sugars back up late in a contest prep with sub 10% body fat could actually be problematic for you continuing to
yeah,
get lean. And we've had some people have to switch to tirzepatide to get rid of the glucagon agonist. So
yeah.
I think you would do just fine with that. And the other thing I was going to say about that was, what was it? If you can take a compound, if you can take peptide like tirzepatide or retatrutide, that allows you to have to do less cardio to get into shape, then you're driving less systemic fatigue,
Yeah,
and you're going to have a better outcome. The body is going to look more fresh, more
yeah,
responsive, um, less tired, less fatigued. You don't have to take food as low. So there's a lot of pros to having to use a peptide, or to being able to use a peptide in contest prep.
yeah.
So I will too. I will definitely be using one too if I decide to prep at any point next year. I don't know yet, but so moving on, I wanted to ask, since Urs is competing again today against Quentin, and we both agree that Q looks pretty damn good today, and he might be able to pull
Yes.
this one off if the results are not already out. What what do you see uh, Urs placing at the O? Would he be able to make top 10?
Oh
Hold on, hold
man,
on.
man, man, man.
I'm looking right
Um,
now. Let's
so like
see.
I think Urs is the reason why I think he beat out Quentin, because I heard a lot of this too the last time they competed, was because he's just more overall complete. Like he's shredded, he's hard, and he's overall balanced.
Well, he just won again.
He just won again.
Yep. I
Damn,
opened
damn, Quentin.
Instagram. I opened Instagram and I watched the video. And man, Q. Well, he's got a smile on his face, but dude, I don't know. I feel bad for the guy.
Me too. I think he was great. I think
Hold on, hold on,
it's
hold on.
there's
Maybe I saw it wrong. Come on, somebody just tell me who wins. Um, because there's another picture here where he's holding up Q's hand.
Mm.
Who won? Okay, Q did win.
He did? Hell yeah.
Update. Q won. All right,
Good
that's
man.
why he was smiling. So I didn't have the audio, and I was like,
Okay.
when he called his name, and you see Urs pump his hands in the air. So I thought he
Yeah.
won again. But then Q has the gold medal on, so I think Urs was actually celebrating for him.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. That's Urs though for you.
Yeah, that's good. I think Q deserves the win. I think Ura's placing in the Olympia, man. I want to say top 10. I want to say top 10. I don't think he can get in the top 5. I don't think he looks great from the front. He has great aesthetics, great shape. I think from the back is when he'll
Hold
get
on,
beat.
I might be wrong again. I'm so freaking confused. What? Let me find the freaking bodybuilder without borders. Let me see. They're saying Q is second. I'm so confused. Yeah, it's showing that. Oh my god! Now this one's showing that Urs won again.
Is it Earth?
You might have to go pull it up on your phone.
Here, let me see.
Can you screen share and you'll find it, or you might want to be careful what you're showing.
I'm watching it right now. This moment.
Yep. All right.
It's hers.
There is one.
Damn.
Never mind, dude. I thought Q got it this time.
I feel bad for Q.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, there's the. I swear I saw that point system. I swear that's that new thing. I don't know if that's for next year or is it this year, but if their point system is in like he might be qualified. It's two second places.
Well, I saw that they're limiting classic physique to 25, I believe,
Yeah,
qualifications, which it was needed for sure.
yeah. There's a lot, but yeah, I just think Urs. I think he'll be top 10. I want to say he'll be top 10. I just think when he doesn't have enough back density to compete against to get in the top five. I think if he stands next to, the hotties, the Nick Walkers, Andrew Jacks, I think he might get exposed, but he has the shape. He's balanced. He's, hard draining. I think top 10, somewhere maybe sixth, seventh. I
You
don't know.
know,
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's got phenomenal shape. I think that the back needs to come up. I think the delts and arms can be better. There's a few things here and there because he's not as big as Q, and if Q is as dialed in as him, I don't think it would be a question. So when he gets up against those top 10 guys, I think it gets a lot more difficult
Yeah.
for Urs. But I could see him in the top 10. I'll say that. I could see him making top 10 for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
on his flow, on his condition, his phenomenal posing, I could see him in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's just hard to say when you've only seen him next to Quentin. And I
Yeah.
mean, the other guys too, but like he hasn't been up against some of like the top tens or the top fives.
Well, he also beat in this show Mark Hector.
Yeah.
Um,
Which he came up a lot. He looked,
yep.
I was very impressed with his physique.
This was a pretty good lineup that he beat. So I mean, that's impressive, really.
He
Well,
stood next to too.
huh?
Who was that dude? Other dude,
Ollie,
just
something.
real thick,
Oh, third place.
the third placer.
What's his name? Edward, Ollie Edward Carbo.
Yeah.
Very thick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, that's all I've got for today. We just kept it strictly bodybuilding,
Yep.
which is a good thing. I like ours to stay mostly bodybuilding, bodybuilding stuff. So, but yeah, we could chat again next week. We need to figure out what's going on with all this Chinese factory stuff
Yeah.
and see what the latest is. I'll chat with the guys in my group. I need to get you in the group too, just to have you in there.
Okay.
But all right, man.
All right, man.
Well, have a good week training. Let me know
Yeah.
how are you dropping your food this week?
Yeah. I'm gonna drop it tomorrow.
Okay. Let me know how that goes. I'm sure your appetite comes back fast as hell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm sure.
you might have to give yourself like a weekly refeed of bump it back up to 1,000 carbs once a week as you come down.
Yeah. Yeah. I might because I'm already hungry and it's the rest day right now. I'm already starving.
Yeah, I'm always hungry on rest days, so I drop the food so low, but it's nice. It's really nice. Like
Yeah.
feels like my waist shrinks by like 3 inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right, man. Well, I'll
All
talk
right,
to you
man.
later. We'll
All
see
right.
you.
See ya.